Hello students, welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to teach you second part of the three questions written by Leo Tolstoy. If you have not watched the first part of the three questions, please look at the description box. I have given there the link of my first video. And if you want to get that type of video, please subscribe this channel. And if you like this video, please press the like button and share this video. Let's recap. A thought came to a king that if he knew the right answer of three questions, he would never fail. The questions were: what was the right time? Who are the necessary people? What was the right thing to do? So the king declared throughout the kingdom that he would give a reward to the person who would give the right answer of three questions. Learned men came, but they answered differently. The king was not satisfied, but still he had a wish. So he went to a hermit who lived in a forest. But although he asked the questions repeatedly, he got no answer. Now a man was coming. Okay, before going to the main topic, we should know the word meaning of some words. The king turned round and saw a bearded man come running out of the wood. Wood means the forest. The king turned and found that a bearded man was coming out of the wood. The man held his hands pressed against his stomach, and blood was flowing from under them. The man held this man against his stomach, and blood was flowing from under them. When he reached the king, he fell fainting on the ground, moaning feebly. When he reached the king, the bearded man fell fainting on the ground and moaning feebly. The king and the hermit unfastened the man's clothing. After that, at first, the king and the hermit unfastened the man's clothing. There was a large wound in his stomach. The king washed it as best he could and bandaged it with his handkerchief and with a towel the hermit had. There was a large wound in his stomach. The king washed the wound as best he could and bandaged it with his handkerchief and with a towel the hermit had. Again and again, the king washed and rebandaged the wound. At last, the man revived and asked for something to drink. At last, the man revived and he asked for something to drink. The king brought fresh water and gave it to him. Meanwhile, the sun had set and it had become cool. The king fetched fresh water and gave it to him. Meanwhile, the sun had set and it had become cool. So the king, with the hermit's help, carried the wounded man into the hut and laid him on the bed. Lying on the bed, the man closed his eyes and was quiet. But the king was so tired with his work and with the work he had done that he crouched down on the threshold and also fell asleep so soundly that he slept all through the short summer night. So, lying on the bed, the man closed his eyes and was quiet. But the king was so tired because he was coming from a distant place, and at the daytime he was digging and digging. So with his work and with the work he had done, he was so tired and he crouched down on the threshold and also fell asleep. So he fell asleep so soundly that he slept all through the short summer night. When he awoke in the morning, it was long before he could remember where he was, or who was the strange bearded man lying on the bed and gazing intently at him with shining eyes. When he awoke in the morning, it was long before he could remember where he was. He couldn't remember where he was, and he could not identify the person. He could not identify the strange bearded man lying on the bed who was gazing intently at him with shining eyes. "Forgive me," said the bearded man in a weak voice, when he saw that the king was awake and was looking at him. So, students, when the bearded man saw the king was awake and was looking at him, he said, "Forgive me. I do not know you and have nothing to forgive you for," said the king. The king replied that he did not know the bearded man and he had nothing to forgive him for. "You do not know me, but I know you. I am that enemy of yours who swore to revenge himself on you, because you executed his brother and seized his property. I knew you had gone alone to see the hermit, and I resolved to kill you on your way back." So the bearded man replied that the king did not know him, but he, or the bearded man, knew the king, and he was the enemy of the king. He sought to revenge himself on the king because the king executed his brother and seized his property. The bearded man knew that the king had gone alone to see the hermit, and the bearded man resolved to kill the king on his way back. But the day passed and you did not return. So I came out from my ambush to find you, and I came upon your bodyguard, and they recognized me and wounded me. So the bearded man continued to tell that the day passed and the king did not return. So the bearded man came out from his hidden place to find the king, and the bodyguard of the king saw the bearded man, and they recognized the bearded man and wounded him. I escaped from them, but should have bled to death had you not dressed my wound. The bearded man escaped from the bodyguards of the king. He was wounded. The wounded man or the bearded man escaped from the bodyguard of the king, but should have bled to death if the king had not dressed his own. I wish to kill you, and you have saved my life. Now, if I live, and if you wish it, I will serve you as your most faithful slave, and will bid my sons do the same. Forgive me. The bearded man also said that he wished to kill the king, but the king saved his life. Now, the bearded man is living, and if the king wished, he would serve him for all his life as a faithful slave, and also he would bid his sons to do the same. He also wanted to be forgiven. The king was very glad to have made peace with his enemy so easily, and to have gained him for a friend. And he not only forgave him, but said he would send his servants and his own physician to attend him, and promised to restore his property. So the king was very glad to make a friendship with his enemy. And he not only forgave him, he said that he would send his servants and his own physician to attend him, and promised to give back his property. Having taken leave of the wounded man, the king went out into the porch and looked around for the hermit. Before going away, he wished once more to beg an answer to the question he had put. So, he had taken leave of the wounded man and also went to a hermit to get answer of his 3 questions. The hermit was outside on his knees, sowing seeds in the beds that had been dug the day before. The king approached him and said, "For the last time, I pray you to answer my questions, wise man." The king again asked the question, but the hermit replied that, "You have already been answered," said the hermit, still crouching on his thin legs and looking up at the king who stood before him. So, the hermit said that he have already answered. "How answered? What do you mean?" asked the king. The king was surprised. "Do you not see?" replied the hermit. "If you had not pitied my weakness yesterday and had not dug these beds for me, but had gone your way, that man would have attacked you, and you would have repented of not having stayed with me. So, the most important time was when you were digging the beds, and I was the most important man, and to do me good was your most important business. Afterwards, when that man ran to us, the most important time was when you were attending to him, For if you had not bound up his wounds, he would have died without having made peace with you. So he was the most important man, and what you did for him was your most important business. Remember then, there is only one time that is important, and that is now. It is the most important time because it is the only time when we have any power. So, the hermit said that the most important time is now, because only now has its own power, or only now has power. Now or present time. As we can do everything or we can do anything in present time, not in past or not in future. The most necessary man is he with whom you are, for no man knows whether he will ever have dealing with anyone else. So, the most necessary man is he with whom anyone is. When the king was with the hermit, to the king, the most important person was the hermit. When the king was with the wounded man, the most important man was the wounded man. Now, as I am teaching you, so to you, I am your most important person. And the most important thing to do is to do good, because for that purpose alone was man sent into this life. So, the most important thing is to do good. So, today up to this, if you have any doubt regarding this portion, you may ask me in the comment section. So, stay tuned. Thank you.